Hey everyone, hopefully you can hear us. We are jumping on here. This is Eden. I'm Eden with the Connection Effect, and I'm here with Amity Farr with Simple Fly Life. And she's going to share with us a little bit about her business, her services that she provides to the community, and how you can connect with her. So welcome, Amity. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me here, Eden. This is a joy and an honor.
I am so excited about this for sure. So tell me a little bit about you.
Well, long ago and far away, I was a typical American, living a typical American lifestyle. And in late 2009 or early 2010, I discovered minimalism. And then about 3 years later, I also got deeply into frugality. And so it was such a game changer. And that is what I built my business around, is minimalism and frugality, because the power of these two lifestyles is just incredible. And it really is a path to personal freedom. And not only do you get personal freedom from minimalism and frugality together, but it's also more sustainable for this planet, which don't we all want? So it's a tremendous power. And so my services and my business is all about helping other people find the same freedom that I have.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. One of the things that I love about your particular services is that you work with people one-on-one, which is also what I do in my coaching practice, sitting down with them and going through different areas of their life and how they can reduce some of that stress, specifically through minimalism and learning frugality. And so that really, that also touches on some of the subjects that I have within my coaching practice, as far as working through the physical side of things, as well as our home and maybe our finances, as well as, just the peace of mind and the comfort of having just minimalism as a lifestyle and a very simple approach to living life. So yeah, I definitely think that your services are very valuable within our community.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
What you do is so important as a life coach, and I'm sure that you want for your clients more time, more money, and less stress. And that is what minimalism and frugality together combined can give. And the way it does that is by stopping shopping, you have more money in your pocket. By stopping going to stores, you have more time on the weekends and in the evenings. And by not having the clutter and the debt, you have a lot less overwhelm. And so you get more time, more money, and less stress. And I know that you love helping other people live their passions, and I do too. And so what I do to help others is by giving them more time, more money, and less stress, they have the wherewithal and the means to find out what their passion is and pursue it.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so important to have someone that is kind of on the outside looking in, to kind of do an evaluation and to understand those basic principles, but then to also come in and really solidify how those practices can be implemented within a home. And so, and in a lifestyle in general, not just the home, but, within the whole person, how they interact in the community and in the world altogether. And so what does it look like when someone connects with you?
So it's like finding a friend. It's finding a friend for me, and it's finding a friend for my clients. And I start out by going into a home, and I want to learn about what the goals are, what the purpose is for the spaces, and what the dreams are. What would be the ideal situation for somebody that isn't where they want to be just yet. And I am good at what I do, but people just need a friend. They need an extra set of hands. They need somebody to come alongside them and help them, because a lot of times women are just so overwhelmed when they get to certain places with the overwhelm, and they need down for them. And so Simplify Life, my services are excellent at just helping people find courage to face the amount of stuff that they have and not think about the entire picture. And so there's an old joke that is, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is one bite at a time. And so a lot of my clients come to me and they're so overwhelmed, they don't even know where to start. And so by using that joke and using the philosophy behind that joke, I can help them get unstuck. And honestly, my favorite moment, and I bet you can relate to life coach, is when my client says to me, Amity, I've got this, and they don't need me anymore. And it's not about it's about helping my clients find the freedom that they want and desire for themselves, and being able to take it all the way to where they want to be.
Absolutely. And that just makes me so happy. When a client says, okay, I'm ready. Okay, I'm ready to not just take that step to a better lifestyle, a better way of living, but then also the next step of saying that they're willing and ready to take it on their own because you've helped them and I've helped them build that structure and put those things in place and implemented them so that they are ready to fly and go out into the world kind of on their own and apply those principles within their life and maybe even sharing those with other people.
Absolutely. Life is a revolution. It's not simply decluttering services. It's about starting a massive movement within younger generations to choose differently, to choose against materialism and consumerism and choose against greed. And the reason for this is because, you know, the freedom that comes with living differently than what the American dream is supposed to be is just monumental. And we really need a change. You know, we have bought into this consumerism since the 1950s, and it's not working. It's not working for us. So we need to try something different.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful that I get to know you in this capacity because I get to see the changes that you're making in someone else's life. But I'm really curious, what does it look like if someone were to come to you? How do they get a hold of you? And then, you know, what are the next steps?
Okay, so much of my business is referral based. So friends tell about my services to other friends, and I am also present on Facebook, especially on social media, and so people learn about me through social media. But I offer a free consultation, and it's no risk. I just want to see the stuff. I want to hear about your goals and what you want to do with the spaces and what you'd really like to have. Then we talk together and we set up a time to start working together. And I am totally open to going at whatever pace or whatever time frame is needed. There are clients that like to work for 4 hours at a time. There are clients that like to work 9 or 10 hours at a time, and I'm up for all of that. And there are people that like to schedule 5 or 6 times in a row, and there are people that want to take it one step at a time, and anything is okay. You know, it's about helping my client. It's about what's best for them. And so as best I can, I try to remain flexible so that I can accommodate whatever their needs truly are.
And seeing it shape shift. Maybe it's just that courage to take the step to acknowledging what they want and reaching out and asking for help and asking for assistance to get to where they want to go. That's so important. So,
but there's I like to declutter first, and I was actually telling someone last night that decluttering is more important than organizing, and some people don't understand that up front, but it is. You know, because if you're simply organizing and you start out with that, what you wind up with is shuffling things around and Rubbermaid totes, and you never get rid of it. But if you purge first, then you know what you have left over to organize, and it goes much smoother. And it's also more cost effective, because if you buy organizing solutions up front, you're probably going to overbuy. So knowing exactly what you need is also a frugal item. So
and I would not have thought about that actually. Kind of going in reverse from just organizing all of this stuff first and then decluttering or maybe getting rid of it, but going in the opposite direction, decluttering first, getting rid of the things that are not necessary or needed, and then organizing. And it
Absolutely.
probably helps to create that peace and that calming sense of just knowing where things are, and just probably the visual side of it too, right? Just being able to see it and know where things are appropriately organized, rather than just shuffling it, like you said, from one place to another.
Right. In my services, I always leave the final decision up to my client as to what stays and what goes. I never, once they tell me this is going to stay, I never try to talk them out of it. Like, I totally respect their personal choices, because it's different for everybody, and everybody is attached to different things. And what I might think could go, somebody else might think I could never part with. And so that has to be an item of respect with any client that I work with. But I think it's helpful to understand that with stuff, a string is attached to and to every item you own. And the only way to get rid of that tether is to totally separate yourself from that, which I think is why decluttering is so important and so great. It totally releases that bondage. Responsibly, when you're done. One of the things that I live best with less, we have less complications from stuff. It really is.
Yeah. And that makes sense, because, even as a life coach, I talk with my clients about how we need to simplify. I'm going to say your name, simplify things so that we're not overwhelmed, and that we're not cluttered with so much going on at one time. We break it down into very simple, basic steps, and then applicable structures, so that as they go throughout their day and throughout their week and year, they can make those conscious decisions in that moment. Responsible decisions, as well as knowing how it's going to impact someone later on, even if it's just making one little purchase or getting rid of something, releasing that attachment to it. And so it all kind of plays in together of just being able to take a deep breath, that freedom, and that big inhale, and just being at peace, being calm, but then also knowing exactly what you have, and how moving throughout your life, whether it's things, tangible things, or financial abundance, or even just kind of taking stock of your relationships and how they benefit you, or maybe they're not helping you, maybe they're not serving you. So having all of that clarity just helps you live a better life, a much more simple, organized life.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Yeah. And I love how you touched on abundance. And I think one of the mysteries of life, perhaps, is that true abundance is not more things. It's not in the accumulation of material wealth at all. It's actually in contentment. And when you want what you have, you've got what you want. And when you want what you've got, then you have enough. And you have true abundance, no matter the level of stuff that you have. And it's one of those things that gratitude and discontent cannot coexist. And, once you understand that and learn to cultivate gratitude in your heart, like a muscle, or, like an exercise program, and work up to being able to say 100 things that you're thankful for, from where you might have started with 3 things daily that you were thankful for. It's amazing the transformation in your head and in your heart. And true abundance can be had with so little. It can be had with the clothes on your back, and the air in your lungs, and food in your belly, hopefully. And it's just amazing the power of knowing what true abundance is. I'm so glad you touched on that.
And it's so important to recognize that, because I know in your particular business model, it's something that you really thrive on sharing and cultivating within your client relationships. I know that you and I have previously spoken about how abundance looks for different people, but also how your services feed right directly into abundance, not just for you, but for your clients.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a St. Augustine quote actually that I just dearly love, and it's something that I wrestle with. And I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit differently here because I can't remember the exact words in the quote, but you'll get the gist of it. And it's inventory what you have and take from it what you need. The remainder is needed by others. And that's so beautiful and so complex. And it'll really be something that wrestles you to the ground sometimes when you think about, what do I really need? And what I think people can find is pretty much no matter their station in life, with a few exceptions, but most of us here in America can say we have enough to share. And we've just got to figure out what that is and then start sharing it. But we really do have all that we need.
Yes, and that was one of the things that drew me to you as a person, as a business person, as well as just the services that you provide, because you are so humbly aware of how much abundance we have and how much we can share our services, we can share ourselves in providing services for others in a way that kind of shakes up the standard that you were just talking about, that was kind of created around the 1950s, how our society and our generations have moved forward with not just overabundance, but also just being overwhelmed with stuff, with tangible things that we don't really need, that we can just really pare it back and come back to the basics.
Right.
Connection with one another, and recreating that community again, sharing what we have with our neighbor and with our friends and with our community, and then also receiving whatever it is that we might need in return.
Right. So, Simplify Life is very much a disruptor, and minimalism and frugality are disruptors to the status quo and to the system that we have. And I think it's much needed. And it was made as a point by Joshua Becker of Becoming Minimalist, where I saw first that the most sustainable product is the one you never buy. And so by reducing our consumption, we can leave more resources for future generations, or, for those that are going to come after us that need it. We also can buy secondhand. And that is something that if you do that more than what we're doing now, it doesn't create a demand for new, because every time we buy new, it's saying, yes, please make another. And that's not good for our planet. And, it's one of my hopes and dreams that future generations will be able to enjoy penguins and polar bears as we have. And so it really is important that we all take personal responsibility in the Western Hemisphere and start scaling back our personal consumption and our consumption as a whole. And I think it would make a tremendous impact. I mean, just think about during the pandemic and during the lockdown, when we scaled back on our transportation, how the air quality improved in places, how the water quality improved in places. It was just amazing. And it was almost overnight. It was fantastic. And so, I think that can make such a difference if we pull together that we do need to connect and communicate and start finding community with one another. And I think that's so.
And you about the air quality after the pandemic, and I'm a self-proclaimed tree hugger. I'm very much about that Mother Earth nature energy that we all crave and that we need so much, just to keep us not just grounded, but really, it sustains us, and without it, we're not human. We can't be here. And so, acknowledging that we are making an impact on the environment, by consuming so much, but also, the more we consume, the less connected we are to one another, and to our communities, and for Mother Earth. And so, it really is one of those topics that I get very passionate about. I love teaching, cultivating that connection to soil and plants, and really just solidifying that we all have a purpose on this earth, but we also have to integrate ourselves with the earth and acknowledge the importance of it. And if we are over consuming, if we're over stockpiling things, we're taking away from that purpose. So I'm really glad that you shared that.
Yeah, I also am a tree hugger.
Yeah.
And I believe that
Humans are a part of nature, and when we are divorced from nature,
our heads and our hearts, we are divorced from a part of ourselves. And so I think it's very important to recognize that we are connected, and this is a closed system, and we do have a responsibility to our children, each other, the animals and the plants that are taking up space with us. And
it's all beautiful, and we have lost something tremendous in our isolation from all of that.
Yes, for sure. And I think it comes back to your services and how you connect with your clients. One of the things that you pointed out when I first met you was how you are gifting your services, and they are in return gifting you. And I'll let you explain that a little bit more.
Sure.
But to also just point on how what we do consume and what we use, we can set that standard, we can set that reputation ahead of time simply by proclaiming it, but also practicing it in our services and our daily life.
Simplify Life is also revolutionary in the way that it approaches business. And I saw a video years ago on YouTube.
It was a gentleman that had lived in North America with no money for 12 years at that time. Now, granted, he was a little radical, but he taught me something profound. And he said, there is no debt in nature. And he said, for an example, the bear goes along and eats a raspberry plant, and that's the raspberries gift to the bear. And then the bear goes along and has a bear movement, and then spits out the raspberry seeds, and that's the bear's gift to the raspberry. And he said, there is no debt in nature, and debt in human culture leads to slavery. 100 out of 100 times. And we may not feel it at first, but we get there. And so just knowing that that is its consequences. Simplify Life does not involve debt in its business. And I have been able to operate it debt-free. And I also do not ever saddle my clients with a collections notice or anything like that. So what they can give is their gift to me, and my work to them is the gift that I give to them. And it's been amazing and phenomenal. And I must say, God is in this, because the money always works out for me. And I have done my work for very little, and I have done my work for a handsome amount, and everything in between, and it always works out. So this idea of a gift economy is something profound, and I think it's something worth chasing and something worth pursuing on a larger level than just one woman doing her business this way. And so that's one of the things that I hope to see in my lifetime take hold, is the idea of something different than capitalism or communism or whatever economies that we have used in the past. It's not working. Let's try something different.
Yeah. And that was that was what actually connected us in the first place, this idea of gifting economy and acknowledging that your services are worthy of receiving a gift. You're gifting someone your services, your talent, your skills, your abilities through the work that you're doing for them, but then also receiving that gift in return, whatever it looks like for them. And that, it does not undervalue what you do in any way, shape, or form. The value is so very important. It's so very important. To your clients, regardless of what they offer in return, and just having that as your business model is just it's amazing, and it really is. It gives me hope, and I hope that others can see that as an opportunity to shift their way of thinking, to understand the impact that you're having, even just one client at a time, and you're one person, but how the rest of us can see this as an opportunity to rethink how we perform services, but also how we receive and return, and using that to kind of change that economy within ourselves, propel the movement forward, but then also pull back from standard economy.
Right. Yeah. One of Simplify Life's goals is to set people free. And I didn't want to make a model for my business that would shut people out that might need the help, that probably couldn't afford it. So, I'm the organizer to call when you can't afford an organizer. And I am able to take on clients that wouldn't be able to get help anywhere else in the organizing community, just because of the gift economy model and the gift for gift services approach to my business.
Yeah,
it's been amazing.
And that speaks volumes to you, to who you are, how you operate in the community, and connect with other people. So I commend you for putting that into the world and taking the time to really solidify your beliefs and your values is something that is so important. When I work with my clients, we also talk about beliefs and values, and what we stand for and what we want to live out in our life. And you are a living example of exactly what your business is standing for. And so that's amazing. I just love that so much.
Thank you. You brought up a good point. Standing for your values. So a thing about being debt free is that helps you be able to stand for your values and have a stash of cash. It allows you to view work so differently. And so for myself and my husband, we have had opportunities to do differently than somebody would have had to do if a lot of debt was present. And we have both quit jobs that didn't satisfy us and put us in positions that we didn't like. And with a debt-free financial picture and savings in the bank, there's no reason why you would ever have to be backed up against the wall ethically on the job. It's so empowering to know as you go to work every day in whatever kind of position you're in as a job and as a profession, that if it came down to it, you could just slide that name badge across the desk and walk out. And that is so empowering and freeing. And it really helps people, even in trades and in paychecks jobs, to not feel like they're a slave. And that is so important. It's so important to have personal power. And you can't have it when you're underwater in debt.
Right. And you're overwhelmed with everything that's around you. It's hard to see through it and to see what's on the other side. It's very clouded, very cluttered. And unfortunately, it feels like that is the standard for so many people and basically for society as a whole. So having that ability to sit down with someone and work through that with them, not just in the tangible way, but then also the mental and spiritual opportunity to really solidify that it's not just one part of your life. It really does help all areas.
Mhm.
And that's, and that's what I talk to my clients about. We sit down and we go through each part of that, and get through to the other side so that there's a better outlook, there's a better connection to the world and to each other. But it frees us up. It creates that, again, that breath, that fresh air, that inhale, and exhale, but then also just having hope. That really, it can really shape shift for someone that is struggling with trying to see the big picture, because there's just so much going on. And so when you connect with your clients and provide this opportunity, this service, to simplify things and bring it back, pare it back, that is just, it's so valuable and it's so needed. So,
Right. And
Yeah.
your services are so valuable and so needed. And
I am a living testament to your worth and your value and your expertise, because I want you to know you unstuck me on a business matter in about 30 minutes of just talking to you. You are amazing.
thank you. I appreciate that.
I mean that.
I wanted to also ask you, so when someone is to reach out to you, and they're going through, maybe that first step, they're thinking, okay, we need to work through some things, but I don't know how. I know you mentioned that you want to sit down with them and kind of go through goals and things like that. How does that look like? So do you have a couple of things that they really need to check or, solidify or go through with you, when they sit down with you for the first time?
So I don't have a set process. When I meet with somebody the first time, I want to see them in their natural state. And I don't want them cleaning their house for me or putting on airs or trying to make things any better. Like, I just want to see the real person inside that area. And I want to add also that Simplify Life does offer budgeting coaching for the financial side. So I am not a financial advisor. I will not tell you what to do with your money, but I can help you find your net worth, your disposable income, which are important coordinates on the financial map. And so when I sit down with a budgeting client, we just collect all the papers together. We start sorting out. I stay with my clients that are budget clients for about 6 months. I meet with them once a month, and I help them to learn how to find money that's already there that they might not know that they're wasting. And so many of us, myself included, we nickel and dime ourselves to death. But for the decluttering coaching clients, it's just a matter of figuring out where they want to go and helping them get there. And we take it at their pace. I have had clients that told me, Amity, I've got this after 2 times. And I have a client that I've worked with for 2 years, and she still finds value. And as long as she's finding value and she's making the progress that she wants to make, I am okay with staying in the picture. But it is my hope for her and all my clients that one day they will become graduates and we will just be friends. And I will not be a service for them anymore. They will be taking it under wing and really going for it themselves.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you give the example of a client maybe taking them on after a couple of months and then another client taking a little bit longer. It's important for people in our industry, service industry, really working one-on-one with others to acknowledge and be aware of, the space, the capacity that our clients are in, and to really let them go their own pace, but then to also acknowledge that, the service that you're providing still has the same value, regardless, what the time frame is or how little or how long you work together. And that really, it just solidifies that if a client is continuing that relationship, they trust you and they believe in your services, and that they are, they're growing stronger in their practice of your teaching and your services, and also creating that lifelong relationship with you. And so it would be interesting to know, maybe, do you have clients that you do checkups on? Do you come back around? Do you circle back around to them, or do you check in with them, or?
So there are people that have invited me back, and there are people that take a year off and then say, hey, I'd like for you to help me with this area, or I need a touch up here. I am always willing to help on things like that. You know, and the service is so organic and personal. You know, I really don't have too much of a set pattern beyond just simply breaking it down, helping it become more manageable and attainable. And, you know, I am open to using other organizing methods. You know, some of my clients like to Marie Kondo, and let's try it. Let's alter it as we need to, and let's get her done. You know, I'm willing to use a lot of techniques and a lot of different philosophies towards organizing to get the help that my client needs. And as long as my client gets what they need, that is my number one focus. And it doesn't really matter to me how we get there, just as long as we get there for them.
Person is different and how they want to see organization. Do you have some maybe basic understanding in your own way of doing things, your own practice, that you try to implement, or do you ask for suggestions from your clients, or how do you approach that?
So I always like feedback. So I'm trying to get very good at asking my clients, you know, what worked about this, what didn't work about this.
Even though I've been organizing technically since 2013 and professionally since 2019,
there's still a lot to learn, and there's still absolutely room for personal improvement on my part. So I'm always open to suggestions and for trying new things. And you know, sometimes my clients have it right, and they teach me, and that's just
beautiful and amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no fixed way of going about it.
Okay. And that's good that you're able to be flexible and that you're open to that feedback to allow them to share maybe what worked or what didn't, or how they would like to proceed with things. I think sometimes for even my own clients, they kind of get stuck in this idea that I'm going to teach them a certain way of doing things, and really it's about leading them in a way that that they are the ones doing the work, to kind of, you know, bring the clarity themselves, and to build on their own strengths and their own abilities. I'm just there to help them, and it sounds like you're kind of there too.
Right. Yes. I bet you feel this way as well. I really do consider myself a catalyst in the reaction. And, you know, in chemistry, catalysts are never
Consume themselves, they're never changed.
Yeah.
They just simply facilitate the
Yes.
reaction. And
Absolutely.
I totally see myself in that role. So,
Yeah. But you're also providing that for someone see on the other side, so right in the middle of it. And so having someone that's on the outside looking in and still provide that structure, and they are the ones that are just kind of feeding into it, learning from you and gaining those skills while you're teaching them. So
right.
yeah, that's so important for not just the service industry, but when we're working one-on-one with clients, because everyone's different. Everyone has a different wheelhouse or a different understanding of things. And one of the things that I would love for you to share is maybe not an ideal client, but just a client who would be someone that you could see reaching out to you. Maybe they're ready to take that next step.
Okay.
it seems like right now, and it's been interesting, Eden, the demographic has definitely been shifting. Before, when I first started, it was women in their 50s, early 60s facing retirement. But now I find that it's millennial moms and moms that are busy, that have 2 or more children, that are overwhelmed, and they they don't have anything wrong with them per se. They just don't have time to attend to all of it.
Mhm.
They're busy, it's messy, and they need a second pair of hands. So, you know, I come in as a rent-a-friend, and I'm the extra pair of hands. I'm the one that's going to make you question why you're keeping things, but just help you think through why you want to keep what you want to keep, and let you let go of the things that are holding you back from what you really want out of your stuff and out of your home.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I was just talking to a friend the other day about how um, during the pandemic, I started collecting random little things. It really made no sense. It was just kind of maybe it was an emotional buy at first, but then it just kind of became a habit. And it was mostly pens and planners. And it was as if I was trying to create some kind of structure within myself, but it was just impulse at first, and then it became habit that I started looking for it. And I don't know that it was necessarily to the extent that it was unhealthy, but it was definitely, it was a shift. There was something in there that, in fact, my husband was ready for me to not buy those things, you know?
Oh, but even you get a pass. It was the pandemic.
It made sense.
That's
So true.
you know, we all had our oddities, and I think we should be allowed our oddities when life is just that bonkers.
Mhm.
Yeah. So more power to you for the pens and the planners.
Thank you for that. I'll tell my husband you said so. Okay, you must have like that. But I think it's also important to acknowledge that, you know, being a life coach, I saw my pattern shift. Eventually, I saw that my behavior had changed, and trying to work through that and understand specifically what was causing it, and then learning how to let go of it. And I think that that's, you know, where you're coming in and saying, okay, maybe we don't need all of these planners, maybe we don't need all of these pens, you know, or finding a safe way to accommodate that shift, so that we're not consuming more, but then also implementing things that are healthy, you know, in place of those things. So that's important. We don't see that often in our community, let alone in society today, because it is, like you said, all about how much more can we take in and how much more debt can we get into to accommodate this lifestyle that, you know, doesn't really suit us. We just keep buying into it.
Right.
Yeah. You know, minimalism is so personal,
And there's 1,000,000,000 different ways to express it.
and it's still minimalism. There's no one right way. You don't have to own 100 things. You don't have to have 33 items in your wardrobe to be a minimalist. It's totally individual and personal. And the thing about it is so intimate. And what is trash to me may be treasure to you, and vice versa. And it's interesting, you know, I had a client a couple years ago, and I kept picking up these plastic pieces, and there were many of them. And I said, you know, can I toss these in the trash? And she said, oh no, those are the little things that hold my husband's shirt collars in place. And I didn't know that, but you know, that to me would be something that I would put in the trash, but to her, it was important, and she had a reason for it. So, you know, when I help people declutter their homes, I'm pretty fanatical about not ever throwing away something without permission. Like, I'll even go down to gum wrappers and ask, and it's just because you never know. And that is something that I learned early on, and was a very, very important lesson. But stuff is intimate, and minimalism is very intimate and personal also.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when we place emotions on things, you know, when we pass things down through generations, and it holds those memories and those emotional moments, you know, whether it was a moment from a former generation that's then being passed down, creating memory books or hope chests, filled with those things, and really discerning what those emotions are that are attached to those things, and providing a healthy way to process it, instead of just shoving it in a closet, or maybe they're unhealthy emotions and we just throw them away simply because, but really breaking it down so that people are making healthy decisions so that they will eventually move on and continue to practice in a way that is sustainable rather than just creating that same pattern repeatedly.
Oh, I love that you brought this up because
Sentimentality is one of the 3 things that I see people doing in my practice to hold on to stuff that maybe they shouldn't.
but I think it helps to really look at what your definition of a gift is. And if your definition of a gift is the actual thing, then you definitely need to keep the thing. But I challenge you to think about gifts differently and to view the gift as the thought that that person had to instigate them to buy something for you, to give to you as a token of their affection. And the gift is the thoughtfulness, the gift is the act of love, and the gift itself is wood, metal, plastic, cloth, whatever. That's not the real gift. All of that substance will one day rot away or be decayed or be stolen or destroyed. But the act of love that was behind that gift will always remain and will be eternal. And so if we can start looking at our sentimental items as actual things and wood, metal, stone, whatever, and not grandma, not the ex-boyfriend, not the best friend, then we can allow ourselves to take pictures. And this is huge among the minimalist community for things that you have an attachment to, but you probably can let go of. Take a picture of the item, and that way you'll remember that person that you have the connection to with the item. And you won't lose that. Every time you flip through your phone, you'll remember it. And honestly, you'll probably flip through your photo album more than if you had it in a box on the top of your closet. So you can always maintain that connection to people and not have the burden of the thing.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because if you have a picture of it on your phone or saved somewhere, you can share it with other people easily. If it's a moment of wanting to share or offers a sense of connection with someone else, and sharing that memory, you have it readily available and so much easier access to it than if it was in a box or packed away somewhere, or even in a storage unit, which is pretty common. Store all of the things that you don't touch or see or need often, and set it aside so that it's not in the way, right?
Right. Yeah. And I see people have a fear of disappointing the people that gave them the item.
Let's face it, in a healthy relationship, that person doesn't want you to be burdened with that item. It doesn't want to become or they don't want it to become a prison for you. And so, are holding on to things because you think you're going to be offensive if you let them go. Probably 9 out of 10 times, if that person really truly loves you, they're going to be okay for you to find freedom from it when you're ready to part with it. So, yeah.
Things, and then letting go of those things, releasing that string that you mentioned, having that connection with it. So yeah, that's all of that is such great information, and it's so good to have it out there for people to understand a little bit more about what you see in your life and how you navigate your lifestyle of minimalism and reducing your consumerism, but then also sharing that with other people. I definitely want to go ahead and reiterate how people can connect with you, how they can contact you, and then we will if you have any other tips or suggestions for people, definitely share that as well.
Sure. So my website is simpleflylife.com.
And it's simple, like the word simple, fly, like go fly a kite, life, like the life we're living, all squished together.com. And you can also contact me by email, either through a link that's on the About page of my website or directly at Amity, and that's A-M as in Mary, I-T-Y, at simpleflylife.com. So it's simple like the word simple, fly like go fly kite, and life like the life we're living.com. And I would be happy to talk with you and to set up a consultation to see your things and to get an idea of how we can best help you conquer your stuff in the way that you would like. So as far as tips, wow, there's so many. But I would say if you are interested in self-starting, the trick is just to start. There's a couple of good resources. My own personal journey began with a book called Secrets of Simplicity by Mary Carlo Magno, and that can be found on Amazon. It's a workbook format, and it was very helpful to me. The other thing I can tell you is if you want to know more about me and about my tools and tips that I use, then I wrote a book called Simple Fly Life, the Manual, and it's available on Amazon in ebook and in print. And I wrote it simply to buttress my business and to give my clients a tool so that they would have the tools that they need in my absence to do what they wanted to. So if you're a self-starter, Simple Fly Life, the Manual might be the way to go. But otherwise, please give me a call and I will be happy to come alongside you.
Love that. Very good. Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
all of
Eden.
this today. I've said it before, but I'm always amazed by you and
Thank
what
you.
you offer the community and just your sweet nature and all of the abundance that I receive from you, just knowing you.
Oh,
and
likewise.
getting
I'm
to connect.
deeply grateful for this opportunity and for you, and it's a blessing to know you. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, stay tuned for our next series, for our next coffee and conversation. We are looking forward to the next couple of months. We've got a few more of these coming up. If you have any suggestions or if you know someone that would be interested in joining me in this series, definitely have them reach out. I am Eden with the Connection Effect, and until later, see you then.